So let's start the feedback. Okay, so let's check this correction. We have a quite poor result. So we have to go through the few steps. You have to go a few steps that helps you to understand the question and find the answers. Okay, first it's talking about the when the demand increase and the supply decrease at the same times, and ask you which is the result. Okay. And the result is talking about the price and the quantity. So let's doing two. Actually, there is two way to find the answers. Okay, first in the question you find that that is a demand increase, so it's D up, and the supply decrease, that's S down. So we can use the logic to find out the answer first. So for the demand increase, we know that according we using a diagram. Okay, demand increase. Okay, this is D1, D2, and we have 1 here. We have our P2 here, Q2 here. So actually price up and the quantity up. So we know that the P is going up, the Q going up. Okay, so at the same time we have our supply decrease in the question. So we try to analyze what's the result. According to this, we tried a supply increase, a supply decrease. So S1 here, S2 here. Oh, okay, equilibrium 1. So this is 1, 1. Equilibrium 2, here 2, 2. So price up, quantity down. Price up, quantity down. Okay, so after all of this, we can find out the P have a consistent direction. So conclude that price should be increased. For the quantity, is different direction. Okay, both of them is different. So the result is unknown. The second way to find the answers is more not complicated, but you have spent more time because we can use in the diagram to find the answers. Remember, okay. So we try to draw a diagram with a D1, S1. So D, we have a D up. So we have D2, but with a bigger gap between the D1 and the D2. Then at the same time we have S2, but as a decrease, S2. We are intended to draw a shorter gap between the S1 and S2. So actually we can find the equilibrium just like this. D1 S1, then we have this equilibrium. D2 S2, we have the blue equilibrium. Then we try to find the that is P2, that is Q2, and pink one, that is P1, Q1. So we find that the P up, the Q up. Okay, this is first diagram. But that's not enough because there's two possibility. Is the extent of the demand change is bigger than the supply change, right? Maybe smaller than supply change. So we draw another diagram. We have also D1. Oh, what's happened? My pen. S1. Okay, this time when we draw the D2, intended to have a narrower gap. Okay, but for the S2 with a bigger gap, then equilibrium P1 Q1 original one, then the after change equilibrium P2 Q2. Then we have a price increase, quantity decrease. Then compare the difference, compare the change of the price, they are the same. Compare the quantity change, they are different. So the conclusion is price will up, no matter which extent is bigger, price will up. So definitely the result is up. Then quantity is an unknown, depends on the extent. Okay, after you understand the skill of the previous one, then you can apply this into this question. Also, this question we have a very good result, and we found that. Okay, so try to read the question first. This time it gives you the extent. It said that demand decrease is less than the extent of supply decrease. Okay, so I try to translate it into a symbol. Demand decrease, supply decrease, but demand decrease is less, right? So smaller. Okay, this is what the information we need here. So we try to draw a diagram of these. This time diagram is more helpful. Actually, both in two ways you can do that. So we try to do it in both ways. Okay, so demand decrease according to our skill. We understand that price will decrease, quantity will decrease. If you don't really understand, go back to the start of this video. We show you the step how to show you the way how to find it. And as decrease, then the price will the price will up, quantity down. Okay, so result, price unknown, quantity down. Okay, so what you focus on is the price. How to find out which one? Because this time it said that the demand decreases smaller. So who is the winner? The winner is supply. Supply decrease. So in our analysis, the supply decrease is winner. So in price, that is double. The power is double arrows. So now the up arrows is more than the down arrows. So final result is up in this scenario. Okay, so increase is the answer of price. But for if we can do it in another way using diagram, this time we don't need to draw two diagram because the question tell us who has a bigger stand. So we can easily just simply use the information we have. The demand increase, but the smaller extent. So we have a smaller gap for the D2. We have a bigger gap for the supply decrease. That is the S2. Okay, so we find the equilibrium P1 Q1. Find the new equilibrium P2 Q2. Then price up, quantity down. So we have the same answer with the previous method. Okay, so now here, this question also have a poor result. Let's check the information here. It said that the demand increase equal of the supply decrease. Okay, so translate it into symbols. D up equal supply decrease. Okay, so I don't know which one is remain unchanged, which one is increase or decrease. So simply do a drawing diagram. Okay. So we have a diagram, D1, S1, D will up, so we have a D2, because the extension should be equal to the S down, so D using blue color is better too. Okay, so we use a S, will go, D will up, right? But for the S, they will go down, so just go to the left hand side. We'll try to find a way that something like this, similar. Okay, here we can find two equilibrium, the old one. Then, according to here, obviously the P will go up, P2. Okay, so here is Q1. Then, because they have equal equal power, so the Q should be equal. Okay, Q1 equal to Q2. Okay, so the result is price of Q remain unchanged. This question is another style. It said that also poor. Okay, poor result. So let's see. Let's read the question first. It said that the demand decrease and supply decrease. Then it tells us the result that is a quantity chances decrease. Okay, so we try to translate it. Demand decrease, supply decrease. Okay, but it does not tell us about the extent, so we don't know which one is bigger or smaller. Then that is a result is the quantity decrease. Okay, so in this case we have to try to draw a diagram to check which diagram it is. So we try to draw a diagram with a D1 with a S1. Then because it said that the demand decrease, so we try to intend to test. Okay, no matter narrow or a bigger gap, intend to make it. Okay, because we don't know is narrow or bigger this bigger gap at this moment, just try it. Then the supply will decrease, so the demand I try to make it for a big gap. Therefore, for the supply, I try to make it narrower. Okay, first narrow gap. So we try to find the equilibrium. That's just P1, Q1. Here, P2, Q2. So okay, according to our analysis, P down, Q down. Let's check whether it's equal to whether it fits with the result in the question. Okay, both of them are the same. So to be safe, we try to draw another diagram that is with a different extent. Okay, so I tried another one, D1, S1, but this time I try to make a smaller gap for the demand, D2, but the bigger gap for the supply. Okay, change. Then equilibrium, P2, Q2, but for the supply, oh sorry, for the original one, P1, Q1. Okay, the price up, then the quantity down. Okay, according to what we have, both diagram, we have quantity decrease. That means no matter the extent of demand or supply, oh sorry, no matter the extent of demand is bigger or smaller than the supply change, we we still have quantity decrease. So we are not sure that which one has a bigger extent. Okay, I repeat, because no matter which scenario 1 or 2, we have the same answer. So we cannot determine which scenario it is at this moment. So the correct answer is none of the above. Okay, this kind of question is very famous is very common in DSE and it's easy. So, but the problem is we have to learn how to read the questions. Okay, so using our what we learned before, we try to find the market, find the change, find the result. Okay, so here we try to identify the market we're talking about. Actually, in the diagram, show us that it's talking about the quantity imported food from the US. Okay, so it's talking about imported food, and in the question, it tells us that the background is something about here is about they are in the original equilibrium. That's its background. So here is the original one. So let's say the change. The change is the cost of transporting this food to Hong Kong decrease. Okay, decrease. And also the second change is the fruit from Australia is now cheaper. Okay, so we have two things to process. One and two. So one by one. The cost of transporting food. Okay, actually, according to the diagram, we can see the only change in the supply or demand curve. So think about supply or demand. Cost. Who care about the cost? Buyer or seller? Actually, because doing business care about the cost. So it's talking about the sellers. Sellers, that means affecting the supply, and this supply, because the cost decrease. So seller will be happy, right? I can make more profits. So they will try to increase their supply to do more business. And then for the fruit from Australia become cheaper. Who care about the fruit from Australia? Who have the option to buy the food is the buyer, right? The buyer can buy from the food from Australia, so it's about the buyer. Then they are cheaper, so they are more prefer to buy the Australian fruit. But the US fruit, they will buy less. Okay, remember in this market we are talking about the fruit from US, not Australia. So it should be the demand decrease of in this case. Okay, so now we know that demand decrease, supply increase. Simple. We just moving the diagram. Okay, we using a highlight pen. Okay, so demand decrease. So should we go to this and supply increase. So supply increase. Then we find the new equilibrium here. So answer is E4. Okay, let's use the same thinking logic to doing this question. This question focus on the market first. What market is talking about? Actually, in each options, they are different. Okay. Oh, sorry. It should be electric cars in option A and B, petrol cars in option C and D. Okay, so remember, look at the market, and we have a change in the question. Is said that significant decrease in the production cost of electric cars. Okay, this about electric cars, the cost of electric cars. So we think about the effects on the electric car first. the cost, okay, the seller care about it. Okay, so it affect the supply, cost decrease. So supply will increase because the seller will can make more profit. They will feel happy to make more. Okay, then electric car supply increase. That's all for the electric cars. Then let's see whether A or B is the answer. In our option A, it is a change of a supply curve. It is a supply decrease, not increase. Okay, so not the answer. Supply decrease. And for the option B, that's a change of a demand curve. Demand decrease. Shift to the left. So is none of them fit the result, right? So let's go to petrol cars. Because petrol cars, we have to do more analysis. According to what we understand, supply increase in electric cars, and why the change in electric cars in the question will relate to the petrol cars, because there's two different goods. According to what we learned, we should think about what is the relationship between them. Oh, it's about the petrol petrol car and electric cars is the buyer can choose either form of them, right? Because they are not the production side. Because making the electric cars and making petrol cars, they are using different materials. Okay, so it's about the buyer, and they are joint demand or competitive demand. Clearly, they are competitive demand. Okay, they are substitutes. So now the supply increase. Supply S1, S2. Okay, supply increase in electric cars, then the price will become lower, right? So price will become lower, then more attractive for the electric cars. Petrol car demand will decrease. Can you understand that? Because the price of electric cars decrease, people will prefer to buy more electric car. So they will try to buy less petrol cars. Okay, so let's check the results of the option C and D. Option C, supply increase, demand decrease. Option D, demand decrease. Okay, it's fit with the analysis. So our answer is answer D.